Hi, everyone. I'm Mike Zyda, and today's talk is entitled, Let's Rename Everything, the Metaverse. I'll start out by sharing my slides, and hopefully they come up in the right spot, and we can hit play, and I'll put the little picture of me up in the upper right-hand corner. Okay. This is a column I wrote for IEEE Computer Magazine. This is games column number 4. Let's rename everything the Metaverse. In the mid-1980s, much of the military simulation being built in the United States went under the rubric visual simulation. When Jaron Lanier and VPL Research burst onto the scene with the term virtual reality, all of a sudden people inside the Department of Defense were realizing that what they were doing seemed outdated under the name visual simulation, even timid, and desired to join Jaron and his crew to use the term virtual reality. But level heads inside the five-sided headquarters decided that virtual reality seemed too druggy, and they decided to create a real sleeper of a marketing term, synthetic environments, with some maybe more hip DODs renaming all that they did as virtual environments, a term that seemed halfway better and more appropriate than synthetic. And it was not long after that all the Department of Defense people in the modeling and simulation realm moved towards this better phrasing. Now, when everyone started jumping into the pool and using virtual reality or virtual environments, shouting occurred from Jaron's way, indicating that it was his term and that anyone who used either term had to be using a head-mounted display and not just a flat or projected screen. That virtual reality had an actual meaning of a head-tracked world that a user could move through and interact, and that controlling such things with game or other controllers in a flat screen already had a different name, games. Well, this battle was lost rather quickly as the terms got co-opted and everyone started calling everything they did either a virtual environment or a virtual reality, depending on their level of ultraness. In 1997, the National Research Council issued a report entitled Modeling and Simulation Linking Entertainment and Defense that indicated that the Department of Defense ought to pay more attention to the games industry and adopt their best practices when building their next generation modeling and simulation systems. I chaired this committee for the National Research Council and got to see this from the starting gun level. Now, some fantastic things happened from that study. A plan was written for the chief scientist of the U.S. Army to found USC's Institute for Creative Technologies. I wrote that plan. And the America's Army game got funded to the MOVES Institute at the Naval Postgraduate School. MOVES is modeling, virtual environments, and simulation. Put all the words in one place. There's the cover of the book. 2005, I drafted a paper that extended this desire to cover all phrases. That paper was entitled From Visual Simulation to Virtual Reality to Games, and described my technological journey and what I plan to do next. And then everyone in the Department of Defense renamed everything they were doing as games, and so it goes. And let's now call everything the Metaverse. The Metaverse is a term created by Neil Stephenson in the book Snow Crash. And the first use of the word metaverse in his novel is right here on the slide. I'll read it to you. On the back is gibberish, explaining how he may be reached: a telephone number, a universal voice phone locator code, a PO box, his address on half a dozen electronic communication nets, and an address in the metaverse. Stupid name, she says, shoving the card into one of 100 little pockets on her coverall. But you'll never forget it, Hero says. Metaverse is a portmanteau of meta, meaning transcendent, and verse, from universe. I like portmanteau. It makes me think of traveling salesmen with large suitcases taking trains to distant cities to sell their wares. And so that is what the Metaverse is becoming, a place where salesmen will come to sell their wares, virtual and real. And everyone is rebranding their games as a portal to the Metaverse. So the biggest problem we now have is all of these new Metaversi, I think that's the right term, are not connected. And if all your efforts go into building your personal virtual identity inside one platform, you could find yourself friendless and stranded inside the modern equivalent of MySpace, or even worse, Friendster. Those of us that started early in the network virtual environment realm wanted an open world, a world where your avatar could be anything and you could move between parts of that world for free and unencumbered with commerce, kind of like how the internet started. But as we know, the internet did not stay commerce-free for long. The internet became this space where you had to choose your own walled garden. Think of this as the generalization of America Online. AOL was a walled garden that initially you dialed into and received all your news, communication with friends, and commerce inside. It wasn't really until the internet with web browsers and web pages that we kind of could go pretty much anywhere we wanted to find the community of our internal desire. With the prominence out in the internet of social media platforms, we all went back into a walled garden once again, all seeking solace inside. Everyone wanted to climb back inside the comfort pioneered initially by AOL and the like. So we can look at social media platforms as everyone wanting to again rebuild America Online. And with the various metaverse platforms being created, we are all considering climbing back inside today's AOL again. Now, that every online game made that has had any success is rebranding itself as a portal to the metaverse, we can kind of see what is being built. We can see that these worlds are 3D, that each world is providing users the ability to stylize and create their own 3D avatar, and the ability to create and develop their own island, space, games imbued with gameplay, social communication, and commerce. We wish them all well. And most of all, we wish them all the ability to allow their users to transport their avatars, worlds, businesses, friends lists between each other. Not too likely, though, is the walled commerce is the AOL model they're all following. Let's look at a predecessor metaverse that had great potential, but never could get much past the slap together without art designers look. Let's look at Second Life. Picture of Second Life today. Now, first of all, I remind you, I'm a tech person who was totally enamored at Second Life's ability to gather some 900,000 users into its virtual world, despite having a dreadful user interface in its client, and despite having a mid-90s rendering engine that made everything look like engineer art, which we all know is a technical term for a sucky look. So with the 2003 launch of Second Life not being too far from the mid-90s, not too surprising. Second Life's developers completely had no clue as to how to provide a good user interface so that its users could easily move through and interact with its various user-built worlds. And despite this weakness, Linden Labs, the developer of Second Life, showed a $3.2 billion revenue over a 10-year period that was made from user-built businesses inside the platform, as well as the sale and purchase of virtual real estate inside the world. Second Life even had its own in-world currency, the Linden dollar, which had this come out in this era as Bitcoin or some other cryptocurrency would have made them the bomb. And the most amazing thing is Second Life still exists as a platform and could still do this. We will see. Epic's Fortnite. Epic is a successful company when it's not spending its investors' money suing perceived competitors for lower platform fees, has a great future ahead when it finally unwinds itself from the legal morass of its own making. Epic's Unreal Engine is beautiful and has been beautiful in all the years I've seen it used to make some wonderfully successful games. I've even licensed the Unreal 2.0 Alpha minus engine for the America's Army game. We had to add 150,000 lines of C++ code into that engine to make it work for us at that time. I'm sure the engine is way easier to use now. So Epic's entry into the metaverse space is to take its Fortnite game, a hugely successful game that used to be on more platforms, and make modifications, mods, accessible to users via its Fortnite Creator toolset. Users can create their own island, build their own games and businesses on that island, build their own communities, and share revenue with Epic as their games, communities, businesses in the Fortnite metaverse become successful. It is Second Life with better development tool sets, better user interfaces, and way better rendering. When Epic settles its legal issues 5+ years from now, it will be on even more platforms and make its developers even more revenue. We wish them the best of luck as they have the best look and best capabilities. And this is their Fortnite picture, right? All of the Metaversi have these characters who all stand there and look out at us like longingly we want to jump into that world. All right. Facebook is a direct descendant of America Online. It is a walled garden or island, depending on your taste and metaphors, that encloses you in its newsfeed algorithm and presents you with the most provocative postings during your daily, hourly time there. Facebook hopes you will post your most juicy daily life issues online so that others can respond, fight, like what you say, despite your personal, truth-resistant, narcissistic ravings. I like Facebook for this. It's kind of the epitome of algorithms gone wild and is letting us all know at this stage of our development that perhaps we need to be more careful with what we build and then ship. Facebook is under investigation by Congress for its tacit participation in the 2020 presidential misinformation campaign and the January 6th coup attempt by the outgoing President for Life hopeful. So Facebook, with its purchase of Oculus, is building its own entry into the metaverse I initially named Facebook Horizon Worlds, now with a renamed company called Meta, which, if you recall earlier in this article, means transcendent. Transcendent of what is the question? Perhaps it is Facebook's way of saying they are running away from misinformation and coup assistance as a business. We hope so. That would be an appropriate use of their lucre. We will use Horizons as the name of their Metaverse entry rather than the cumbersome Facebook Horizon Worlds. Horizons is a 3D social space meant to be run inside of the Facebook Oculus Quest 2 VR headset. Comparisons between Horizons and the Microsoft AltSpace VR world are common. The thing that Facebook, Meta, has over AltSpace VR and other VR apps is a huge number of users in their Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp platforms that might transition to Horizons. Now we say might, as only 1.87 million Oculus Quest 2 VR headsets have been sold in total. Meta itself has 2.89 billion users, so approximately 0.065% of Facebook's users. Facebook made $86 billion in 2020 in revenue, primarily from ads. Most of the tech superstars of the internet age have all focused on figuring out just what ads will make us purchase that lifetime subscription of Viagra or other similar supplement. But Meta is doing this inside of VR with their Oculus Quest 2 VR headset, which means that most people won't join this metaverse as who wants to wear an HMD for more than 3 or 4 minutes. And Meta still has a continuing problem with Congress, so we don't think there is much future in this until Facebook figures out how to do a VR-like experience without an HMD and figures out how to make its algorithms less provocative to Congress and the people of the world. Also, early sample images of Horizon show its desperate need for a better renderer and better art direction. Yuck. AltSpace VR advertises itself as the place for events. It focuses on live shows, meetups, classes, and more with friendly people from all around the world, all thanks to the magic of virtual reality. Like that. Oh, more ugly art. The magic of virtual reality is always helpful when you're building for the metaverse. That's great. Unfortunately, AltSpace VR team sold their company to Microsoft in 2017. It is now part of the same group that has created the HoloLens, the HoloLens 2. Both AR platforms that are way too expensive for a consumer product. The HoloLens 2 is $3,500. By that price, it will never be a consumer product and just a B2B or B2Government product, which means that the AltSpace VR platform, which looks identical on their website to what it did in 2017, is either an orphan project or no longer happening or waiting for a different division of Microsoft to make its future happen. I have not seen AltSpace VR run, but most of the images on their website are in desperate need of artistic direction. Now, one thing that is kind of cool is Microsoft Teams Immersive. So this is some art that I found on the internet, a demo of Microsoft Teams Immersive, and you can see that some of these people have 3D avatars. It's kind of cool. We have Camilla over there in the upper left, we have Crystal in the bottom right, and we have Serena, and we have Ray, and all of them have a 3D avatar of a head. Now that assumes, I guess, that the camera is aiming at their individual's face so their lips and eyes can move as they speak. And if that's true, that's pretty darn cool. I know this one, I had to put this picture in because she's showing the heart. Everyone wants to do this heart thing. I can't do it hardly at all. But to do this in an avatar means that they're also doing hand tracking and figure tracking, and they do it in real time while you're in Microsoft Teams Immersive. That's kind of cool. Roblox is another entry into the metaverse site. It allows the user to create their own avatar, create their own games, play the games of others, and make revenue in Robux. Now, again, the users of Roblox are going to create their own games, as is true in many of the other metaverse. Not everyone knows how to make a game, right? So this just kind of let them say that, but there's some issues. As of August 2020, Roblox has 164 million monthly active users, and the images online for Roblox show an artistically developed world that continues with the avatar creation system. And they too have all of their characters lined up and looking great. And I want to be the guy in the box. That's the guy I want to be, because I just think being in a box that looks that cool is just awesome. Minecraft is part of the Metaverse. And while some people really like the jagged look of Minecraft, I am not one of them. This is kind of what we did in the early 1990s, and it's popular. It's made a ton of money, and Microsoft bought it. So what the heck? Even Unity claims to be part of the Metaverse with the various tools and game engine it provides. But this is one of the pictures you'll find out there if you say, what does the Metaverse look like under Unity? And somebody needs to get all those names off. And when I put a cursor on someone, I see that person's name. This art is 1991, maybe. So John Radoff, love all his talks. He let me borrow his slide. Everyone is part of the Metaverse, is what he basically says here, which is, we got infrastructure, we got human interface, we got decentralized, we got spatial computing, creator economy, discovery, experience. Everyone's in there. All right, we're all in. We're all part of the Metaverse. We're not going to call it games anymore. We're not going to call it Web 3.0. It's going to be the Metaverse. We used to call it the internet, but now we have a new term because it is 3D and allows us to create cute 3D avatars with outfits changeable daily. Now, most of the members of the Metaverse rely upon game networking infrastructures and the game lobby, where the player selects what world, island, garden that player wishes to teleport to. So worlds, islands, gardens that can be treated as levels would be treated in an online game. They can use the same technology, and most of them will require that you pop back up to the lobby when you want to switch worlds, islands, gardens, or go through some sort of portal inside of the level. There don't seem to be any real open worlds except perhaps Second Life and its successor. And Second Life was architected so you could walk from one virtual property to the next. And the only real issue then is how many servers are used to manage any one level, and maybe have an architecture to expand and contract when a number of players in a particular level expand and shrink. The figure 4 coming up shows what a traditional client server game architecture looks like. And figure 5 shows what we really need to do if we want a virtual space to accommodate, say, the number of players that attended Woodstock, for example, some 400,000 spectators, players that can walk from one end of the farm in Bethel to the other without having to transit a game lobby. And that is how it will go if we create a single metaverse properly and not just make it a marketing term for games that allow character mods. This is your traditional online game architecture. All the clients at the bottom are players. They're on the internet. And when they want to log on, they hit the auth server, and the auth server says, do they have a current account? And if they do they have any player persistence? Do they have clothing that they were wearing last time they were in online? And they get that all set, and they throw them into a game state server where they can play into a virtual space that's being held by that game state server. But if you want to think about scalability in a single metaverse organized by virtual space, it looks kind of like this, where all of the S's are servers and the P's are personas. And I'll tell you what persona is a little bit further on, but just think of it as a player in an app with a 3D avatar. It's a player that comes with their friend list and that comes with additional information. So you can see in the bottom left, we've got, P of L, M, and N. Those 3 players are connected to the server SM of I, which is the server for a particular space. And these players, when they walk in that space, if they walk too far, and let's say they walk up, they can all of a sudden be moved to server S2I, and that player will be attached to server S2I, so they can see what's in that part of the world. So the only issue as they move is going to be if they're right on the edge between the transition between the 2 virtual spaces, and you have to worry about the hysteresis, which is, you don't want to flip back and forth between the environments. You want to just push the person so they keep walking, they move to the new terrain, and the old terrain we're not drawing anymore, okay? So if we want to move between different metaversi, then we need something like figure 6. And figure 6, we'll see open worlds and AOL-like walled gardens. And open worlds can utilize a persona, a 3D avatar, a friends list, and additional data that may have been created in another metaverse so that we can bring our cute 3D avatars along with our friends, pretty please. And AOL-like walled gardens are not at all what most of us want. We want to be free to move easily among the Metaversi. So it's this picture, which is open worlds are the dashed lines. So Metaverse N is open. And if I'm in Metaverse N, I can move to Metaverse K because it has a dash line. And the ones with the solid line, Metaverse J and Metaverse I, those are AOL-like walled gardens. And over on the open worlds, you'll see persona equals 3D avatar plus friends list plus whatever needs to come. In fact, 3D avatar might be, and your whole closet of clothes for your 3D avatar, all right? So we want that. We want to be able to, change our clothes and change our whatever and move between open worlds. What will happen to games that don't rebrand as Metaversi? If you believe the path of the Metaversi is the truth, the way, and the light, then games that do not rebrand as members of the Metaversi will all die a slow and miserable death, a death prognosticated by the Metaversi version of the Metacritic. Perhaps the Metaversi critic. Oh, please. It's just the internet 4.0 or 3.0, whatever measure you have today in sheep's clothing. And it's all kind of being built like AOL was in the past. So some references for you to look at later. The author wishes to acknowledge the following: my co-author Sandeep Singhal, who someday will have time so we can write a second version of our book entitled Network Virtual Environments, the Metaversi Edition. And all of my past students who have worked with me on various network software architectures without worrying too much about what they were called. Even Jeep.C was just fine if all of our audience for our efforts were C programmers. Have a transcendent day. And here's my contact information, WeChat if you're on that, or Zyda at MikeZyda.com. Have a wonderful day, and thank you for the invite in this talk, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.